Hi folks, sorry about the glow at the back. There's nothing I can do about it, but I am feeling compelled to do this video, even though technically in terms of my priorities for the day, doing a video for YouTube was not high on that list. But it is the 1st of January, so Happy New Year, and thank you for your support and patronage and feedback and involvement in this channel. I am very, very grateful, truly. But there was something about the topic and my thoughts related to this transit that made it really right to start the new year off with this particular video. A few days ago, I did a video on the sun in Capricorn, and I wasn't thrilled about it. I felt like it was somewhat somnambulistic and somewhat sleepy and not at my crispest, and some of it had to do with the fact that the past few videos have been lengthier, and I was somewhat uncomfortable with covering a shorter transit in a shorter video. Well, I'm over that, and I'm just going to say what I think needs to be said, and it's going to take as long as it's going to take, and clearly I think this video is important, and we'll let it be that. The planet Mercury is a planet of... When the planet Mercury transits the sign of Capricorn, and the title of this video is going to be Curriculum Vitae or Resume, and I'll explain why in a second. But really, another title I was toying with for this video was Epiphany. And it's because of this Epiphany aspect of this transit right now that I felt like it's great to go ahead and do this on the 1st of January so that we can start thinking along these lines, because I think some of these answers are here and ready for the taking and grasping and thinking about and processing. When I did the Sun in Capricorn video, I explained that the sign of Capricorn is associated with success, achievement, career, calling, climbing to the top of the ladder, reputation, public life. Whether our sense of calling or area of achievement is public and professional, whether it is personal or emotional or nurturing, or family-based, or whether it is, and I really wanted to say this, whether it is retirement. The act of retirement can be seen as a career change or a career transition. And many people, after they retire, take on something else, even if it is technically not professional, because it is part of their retirement. So it is not unusual for people to retire and therefore use that time and think about what it is that they're going to do in that time, and have their sense of calling change accordingly, or where it is that time is going with regard to achievement, whether it is taking on another kind of work, doing the kind of work that you feel called upon to do or love to do, doing some sort of a service, whatever that is. So the act of retirement, retiring from public life in one way, but maybe continuing to be involved in another way, or transforming your career, also to some extent is part and parcel of Capricorn-related preoccupations. The planet Mercury is the planet of communication, talking, writing, listening, interacting, fitting in with people around you, communicating, sales, resumes, messages, emails, letters, interviews. You get the picture. When Mercury is in Capricorn, it's a very simple and straightforward transit to interpret. There is likely to be an increase in or a presence of communications related to career, retirement, career changes, transitions, opportunities. Messages and communications going from you, coming to you, traveling for communications, making travel plans related to career, interviewing, auditioning, meeting, talking, either actively engaged in communication or thinking about and processing career-related activities, and in many respects or regards, either actively building your resume in some way in terms of skills that you're acquiring, or projects that you're doing, or work that you're doing, or things that you're considering, or building your resume in terms of what you're planning or thinking about, or processing, or using your mind to process and do and execute. So the house where Capricorn sits, as I explained in my Sun in Capricorn video, takes priority over the sign of Capricorn. So if Mercury is transiting a particular house in your chart where Capricorn sits, the house that Capricorn occupies, if you know the meaning of that house, there will be communications, commuting, transactions related to that house. But I feel pretty comfortable, because this is a general reading, talking about this kind of resume work, career building aspect of Mercury in Capricorn. In some regards, this transit is very well timed by virtue of the fact that it's happening in the beginning of the year. And It just so happens that many people will be thinking along these lines. One would imagine resolutions. What do I want for myself? What do I want for my career? But even outside of that, as I've said in my past couple of videos, there is a feeling of momentum by virtue of the fact that we are between a new moon solar eclipse and a full moon lunar eclipse on Jan 10th. So there's an accelerating pace already in play as a result of where we are in a lunar cycle between a new moon and a full moon. And because the holidays, and by virtue of where the transits are occurring, there's likely to be a backup of tasks. And by the time tomorrow, January 2nd, comes along, there's going to be, for many of us, a desire to and a need to, or a feeling that we have to just get cracking on a number of things. So the idea of acceleration sort of goes along very well with the timing of this transit. The transit does not occur, you know, it's not guaranteed that Mercury is going to be in Capricorn on the 1st of January. As I've explained in a few other videos, the sign of Capricorn is extremely active right now and charged and activated. We are in the middle of the second set of a complete eclipse cycle in Capricorn. The first set happened in the first half of 2019, as of today, last year, around January the 5th to July the 16th of 2019. And the second final iteration of these eclipses started on Christmas Day, Pacific time, 2019, and culminates in a full moon lunar eclipse in Capricorn on July the 4th, 2020. So the next set of eclipses is upon us, and these are eclipses of release. So wherever the sign of Capricorn is in our charts, something needs to be released, something physically, or a set of activities, tasks, occupations, career-related things, but really related to the house where Capricorn sits, or an attachment to something, a belief, a pattern, a way of being, a set of behaviors that is within our comfort zone but has outlived and outserved its purpose. So there are eclipses of release that are currently active in Capricorn, number one. Number two, the planet Jupiter is now in Capricorn. I've already done a video on Jupiter in Capricorn, and so there are endings and new beginnings in this part of the chart as well. The end of a 12-year cycle, the start of a 12-year cycle. Number three, the planet Saturn that rules Capricorn has been in Capricorn since December the 20th, 2017, and will be in Capricorn till the end of 2020, except for a brief period between March and July of 2020. And wherever Capricorn is, wherever Saturn is, it requires application and a nose to the grindstone quality of building some sort of a foundation, doing a certain amount of disciplined work to construct something productive. And in that process, face self-limiting beliefs or patterns that are holding us back and not serving us. Things that have been in place, but need to be confronted and dealt with. This could be relationships, this could be our relationship to ourselves, or the subjects that sit in the house where Capricorn sits. And then finally, Pluto also has been in Capricorn for a while and remains here till 2024, 2025. And there are changes and transformations that are completely out of our control that are also occurring in this part of the chart. That's a lot. And as I refer to it now, that wherever the sign of Capricorn is, it's as if there is a forest fire. And 2020 is the year when we get through this and the fire gradually subsides as we get to the second half of this year and we start to see some of the saplings and the regeneration start to shoot from the ground. Those of you who have Capricorn in really pronounced parts of the chart, or have been dealing with Capricorn energy in an intense way, particularly if you have a Capricorn ascendant, this is the year when you get to break out of things. This is the year. In some ways, you can look forward to this year because there's a way through to the other side. It does not mean that there are not endings. It does not mean that the fire is not burning. And especially January, February, March, and then May the 4th, and then July the 4th are all dates to watch for. So it still is ablaze. In the shorter term, as I said in my Sun in Capricorn video, we're dealing with our annual transit, annual review of Capricorn-related affairs and where Capricorn sits in your chart. This is a normal annual cycle that lasts for about 30 days. And of course, as I said, we have the eclipse here. Okay, Mercury comes into this part of the chart in the middle of all of this on the 28th of December to stay till the middle of Jan. Mercury's entry into this part of the chart allows us, I believe, finally to articulate to ourselves what it is that we need to release. And this is the whole reason why I am doing this video today, which is to say, if you know where Capricorn sits in your chart, I would actively start thinking about, and I do believe that the answers are here and the answers are clear and they can be articulated now. It's always tricky on the surface to think about where the eclipses of release are occurring and where Saturn is, because with Saturn you're building and constructing something and constructing a foundation, but then the eclipse of release implies that somehow we have to do less in this part of the chart. And I would encourage you to think about Saturn's work as somehow being linked with the eclipses of release, insofar as part of the work that we have to do to build a foundation is to let go of and release certain behaviors and patterns, relationships, activities that are no longer suiting us. So, with all of this said, with Mercury, the planet of communication, cognition, transactions, processing, our thinking now in this part of the chart, we do have not only the opportunity, but I believe we have the information, a mercurial word, to understand what it is that finally needs to be released, needs to be contended with, needs to be let go of, so that we can move forward appropriately. Behaviors and patterns that are not serving us, where it is that we need to actively transform our lives. And again, it's the part of the chart where Capricorn sits in your chart. Okay? And I would, at this point in time, really take the time and articulate this, because the answer is here. And indeed, till the middle of January, the answers are going to become clearer, and it may be that there are some messages and communications around it, or you decide to take some action around these areas as well. So, epiphany, or finally being able to solve the mystery of what needs to be released, I believe is here. Mars comes into Capricorn on February the 17th and is here till the end of March. So it is very, very likely and possible that with the annual review in place, with the eclipse that just occurred, with this epiphany and thinking about what needs to be released and transformed and worked on, finally, that's going to lead to success, greater success. That's going to lead to success. That is blocking our path to success. That is blocking our path to success. This is in Capricorn, our success. Whatever it is that we think and process by the middle of January, it is very likely that starting the middle of February, when Mars comes into Capricorn, till the end of March, we will be taking action on it. We will be confronting it, we will be tackling it, we will be doing it. And it is very likely thematically, I can't guarantee this for 100% of the people who are watching this, it is very likely that because these eclipses are happening in Capricorn, because these transits are happening in Capricorn, that whatever it is that you articulate that needs to be released is going to help guarantee, in our minds at least, Mercury, how it is that we can create and actively move towards building our success and climb to the top and reach our sense of achievement. In another sense, what you're actively doing is articulating self-defeating patterns and behaviors that are standing in the way of you actualizing your career, your calling, in a way that is truly something that you want to do and achieve and manifest. So I would get on it and reach this epiphany and clarity and identify it, so that by the middle of January, this only becomes clearer and clearer and clearer, and in the middle of February to the end of March, you can actively work on tackling, dealing with, being in partnership with, do a handshake with whatever this is that needs to be released, and actively work on releasing it. All right, this is where I'm going to leave it for now. More videos to follow, of course. If you liked this video or you find it useful, feel free to share it. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, comment on it if appropriate. And my email address is in the subject area. Also click the bell icon next to the subscribe button in YouTube because you'll be notified when I do new videos. And finally, my email address is in the subject area, so if you want to contact me for a reading, or you want to inquire about rates, or you'd like me to build or create a chart for you that is easy to read so you can use that as a reference, go ahead and use that email address to get in contact with me. All right, I will leave it at that. Happy New Year. Happy sleuthing, thinking about identifying, solving the mystery of the South Node eclipses of release in Capricorn. What is it that you need to release? That is standing in the way of your professional success. And the clues, as general as that sounds, because you could say, well, there's always something to release at any given time. The clues have to do with activities, behaviors, and patterns that stood in your way from January to July of 2019 and are already coming up and raising their head. You can already feel this building, whatever it is that needs to be released. So it is in the identification of that, in the familiar feeling related to, oh, here we are again. I'm starting to feel the same way I felt last January, February, March. I'm starting to feel like I can't focus on what I want to focus on. So it is time to think about and identify what those behaviors and patterns are. And now that Jupiter is here since December the 3rd, 2019, to actively work on creating a new beginning here in this part of the chart, as the eclipses, Jupiter's transits, Saturn's transit, the final year of Saturn transits, and Pluto's presence here help us transform what needs to be transformed. It is when you let go of what needs to be released that is comfortable, a strength, some would say an overdeveloped muscle, and that feels a little bit like it's hard to let go of. It's once that is identified, either because the pattern is extraordinarily ingrained or because it is giving us a sense of security, it is you have holding on to that needs to be released so that the boat can move in the direction that it is trying to move in. And as I said, for many people, what you're really doing is freeing yourself to move towards your public achievement. Okay, enough said. Thank you.